This episode was recorded while Sky was a part of the Soundtrack of Our Lives podcast. She has since started her own podcast, which can be found on Instagram at Beats and Brews Pod. We wish her the best of luck in this new venture.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sky, and today we welcome Sleepless to the Soundtrack of Our Lives. They will talk to us a little bit about their sound, their process, and their thoughts on the punk and the music industry. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. So, I want to start by asking you guys how the band started.
Honestly, the band kind of started on like a weird whim, I guess you could say.
Kijiji.
I met Bo on Kijiji, and then I was like, hey, I'm just looking to do this new project. So at the time I was in classic rock kind of band, but I was like, I want to do something different. So then found him on Kijiji, sent him a message. He comes over. I put him immediately into the vocal booth to record. And I'm like, okay, I have a better idea. I have something else for us. And then I proposed like a pop punk, pop rock kind of thing. But yeah, that's essentially where we met and kind of where we started, and kind of just like spiraled from there. And like a weird thing where it's like, after 5 months of knowing each other, we're like, okay, we're going to go be on the road for tour for 5 months straight.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very quick.
Okay.
It's very quick when you're stuck with them all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Was it weird at the beginning?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very much. Yeah. It's very, I didn't think Brad even liked me for like the first year and a half. I wasn't even sure. I thought we were just kind of bored and needed something to do. And then I think we actually really bonded on tour because we we had nobody else. We were,
Yeah.
in the band together. And we actually had a drummer issue during the band where it was a 3-piece initially, where we had a drummer and I was actually playing guitar at the time and he was playing guitar. And then our drummer kind of had some issues and he had to leave. So we were like, what do we do? So then we just finished it acoustically. So we kind of relied even more on each other and kind of, we were each other's backbone for a while.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Okay. So how many of you are right now?
Right now we're a 5-piece. So
Okay.
Bo backed off on playing guitar and just focused on vocals. We had to add another guitarist, and then now we have a solid full lineup.
Okay. You guys were mentioning you were touring for like 4 or 5 months, something like that.
Yeah.
So what aspects of the experience like still amaze you, and what aspects end up becoming like tiring?
I see the aspects that kind of like amaze me would be just the fact that like the people that you meet, you're always meeting new people in different like walks of life, different personalities, and like people that have different interests. And I think that even now, like even on a smaller scale, still interests me probably the most. Probably the most tiring is, at least in Canada anyways, is the drive, because in order for you to get from one point to the other, you're driving anywhere from 6 hours to 24 hours just to get to like the next place to kind of play. But I'd say like the people that you meet and the experience as a whole when it comes to like the music side of it is probably something anyways for me, I would say.
Well, yeah, I'd say the same for me. I a lot of aspects on the same. For me, it would still kind of seems a little crazy is just when people kind of refer to you as like a band or a musician. Like when I listen to actual
like when they
bands,
want to see you in that light.
yeah. Like it's still kind of weird because to us, I still feel like we're just those guys trying to do this and like, well, we're still trying, right? Like there's no like we're nobody. I'm not even saying that, but you come a little bit away. There's progress along the way.
Yeah.
And it's just cool to see that, but it's still weird to be like considered, Sleepless or Bo from Sleep or Brad from Sleepless, and it's like another
That's definitely kind of
ego. It's like another alter ego or whatever, like
alternate personality.
Personality.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah. I
Yeah,
have a
it's kinda-
tendency to say
kinda
the wrong
throws
words.
You feel like yourself from the band is different from your actual self, if that makes sense?
In a sense, yeah, because like when you're on stage, I'm pretty sure every musician does it, where it's like it's a different persona, especially like
Mm-hmm.
when you have stage fright and you have like anxiety going on stage. You have to kind of look at yourself differently, think a little differently, just kind of get comfortable and look natural on stage and not like awkward, right? Like I know like for myself, I have stage fright and it's just a common thing. But like when I go on stage, it's like I have to like tweak that mindset of like, hey, no, like it's show, and like walk myself through it kind of thing where it's like, hey, I'm here, don't be awkward, kind of like overshow and kind of like be goofy and silly and like kind of your regular self, but also at the same time just kind of have a little bit more of that edge to have it so you're not anxious and like worried and all that other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I used to be able to hide behind the guitar, and I wasn't really a great guitar player, so I used to kind of just get away with the bare minimum 3-chord stuff. And when our buddy joined the band, Devin, there, I was kind of scared, just shitless, to be like, now what do I do? Right? Like, I don't know what to do with my hands. I can't move nice, like I'm not a shaker and a mover. And the first show that we played without the guitar, I think I straddled that mic stand so hard. And to me, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I can do. This looks great. And then I saw video and pictures of and it looked ridiculous. Like you gotta do something other than just, and like I was double fisting, like it was like work, like, oh, this is hard. It's lame. So yeah, you gotta be entertaining, and like in real life, I'm pretty awkward too. And like I'm not really much of a like extrovert. I'm more of an introvert. I'd rather just stay inside and stuff like that. And really the only time I ever go out is shows. But like when you go on stage, you kind of have to like put that in the back seat, because it's so easy to see when someone's uncomfortable on stage.
Yeah.
And as soon as you lose that comfortability on stage, like you see someone in the crowd that that threw you off, and now you're off your game kind of thing, right? And you can see when that happens, especially if you are like a musician. You can see when someone kind of just lost that ball there, and it's very easy to do. So yeah, I guess.
No, yeah, that's understandable. So how does the dynamic change when you guys add a new member to the band? Because you guys, mentioned you've been 3, 4, 5. How does it change, and what is the process of like getting comfortable with this new member?
I don't think the process changes too much, like in the aspect of like how we run it on the business aspects, also versus how we do the writing aspect of it. I wouldn't say it changes too much. Like when we got our new drummer Peyton, he just comes in, essentially just kind of plays what we already have, adds his own little thing, just make sure everything's like nice and tight. And then for new stuff, we just kind of send him the stuff that we have, then he'll put his own little spin, his own little taste on it.
Okay.
And then when it comes to adding a new guitarist, somebody who is into writing and wants to do the writing aspect of it, it's more of trying to understand their writing aspect and their stylistics of things versus how we currently are, and trying to get that to mesh really well without really like clashing a whole lot. So it gets a little difficult at times with the different styles of writing, but it's also at the same time kind of be like, hey, that's cool. And it's like, we got to try and remember to stay a little bit open to like the different influences that we can add without trying to like go from like a pop punk, pop rock band straight to like a country band kind of thing, right? So we gotta bring it in a little bit, but also bring in and welcome those different influences from everybody that everybody has. Because I think, at least for Bo and I anyways, like our big influence is ironically metal. And that's where we get a lot of that stuff, but we bring it into the pop punk and the pop rock kind of world. Kind of works, and we think that's probably what helps us, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, like pop rock it's like probably my least favorite genre, to be honest. And it's funny how it just fell into place this way. Like it's fun to play. Like I actually don't mind it. It's it clicks and stuff, but for typically listening to it, like I pretty much just branch out to like Blink-182 and just like kind of generic mainstream,
like
the staples, if you want, like the bubblegum pop. I think that's a lot of a term too. But I think it comes to show with our new like stuff that we're writing. I think that's going to really have more of a thicker blend of everybody, because the songs that we're still playing, like those are kind of, I consider them older songs at this point. And it was basically like me, Brad, the producers, in Vancouver there. So there was just kind of like a select few that were kind of working on the songs. I think the ones that we're bringing in are really going to show the dynamic and how it's changed, especially with the live show. I think Devin, who's the new member, he really just revs up the live show. Like he pushes us more to like do better, because he's out there jumping around and having a great time. And it's like, well, if he's doing this, why can't we do this, right? And it's like, there's no point in standing still if you're playing like a high energy song.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the delivery too, not just the sound, but the delivery and how you experience it. So.
Yeah, I think having Devin added a good dynamic, essentially, whether that's live performance or songwriting, it kind of helped add that layer that we were missing for that connection, essentially. Because having a 4-piece is cool and all, but at the same time, there's like, we got synths going on, we got programs going on. I have 3 or 4 cars that are layered, that are recorded all at the same time, that's playing all at the same time. So we have to have not just myself, we have to have that other guitarist and backing tracks and all these other little things to kind of bring the recorded show to a live show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And how is the dynamic when it comes to like bonding in a kind of friendship, not musical aspect? Because I feel like you have to bond with the people
Yeah.
in your band to be able to communicate and make it work.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely have to be
Yeah.
friends outside of the music.
I would say not just bond, but you get a bond from experiencing the highs and the lows, because I mean,
Of their life.
well, of the life, but like also just being a part of the band, like there's
Mhm.
a lot of emotion and a lot of passion, a lot of devotion, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of when you have 5 guys taking times out of their busy day, to come down. Some guys have kids, some guys don't, some guys are, busy working like 24 hours a day, like John, our bassist. So it's a contrast for sure, but
Well, yeah, because you got to see it that way. But then, like, go back to your question about outside of the band too, though. Like our drummer Peyton, I've known since I was 15, so him and I
Okay.
had that connection. Bo, him and I met on Kijiji there 5 years ago, so we had that time to go through like that bonding experience where we would argue, we wouldn't argue.
we
Essentially, like,
bicker all the time.
we're like a
all
married
the time.
couple, but him and I.
Yeah,
So
like,
like
straight up.
we had that that time to develop that relationship and kind of understand like the person might be mad, but at the same time they're coming from, depending on what's going on, like they're coming from a place of passion or something that they're really like pushing for. So we have to kind of understand that as well. And then when adding new members, we're essentially adding a whole new personality, a whole new life
Yeah.
to ours, right? And so now it's a matter of how do we make this work with what we currently have? Because now you have to learn about the person, their do's, their don'ts, things that push them, things that don't, things that kind of trigger them, and things that don't trigger them, to essentially not necessarily walk on eggshells, but just kind of understand where they're coming from, their delivery.
Well, it's a relationship, right? Like you're adding,
Right.
Yeah.
You're married to like
mix. You're basically a
four other
married
dudes.
4 other dudes. It's right. As fun as that sounds. I actually knew Devin prior to him joining the band. We were actually working on side projects, which are probably going to become our songs.
Yeah.
Or have been becoming our
That's
songs.
what one of them is. Yeah.
Before he joined Sleepless, well, unbeknownst to me, Brad one day asked me, like, do you know Devin? And I'm like, yeah, I know Devin. He's a great guy. And he's like, well, he's going to try out. And I'm like, absolutely, let's do this. Right. So it just kind of worked out, in my opinion, where it fit perfectly into place. And yeah, I met John through this guy.
I was in another band with JC prior to.
We kind of peer
Sleepless.
pressured John to be in the band. At first, he was kind of busy and he had like all these other projects going on. So we're like, oh, okay, well, you just come to one practice, man. Just give us a hand. And I was like, okay, we'll come to another practice. Oh, when we got a show, we want to give us a hand. And basically, we just kind of sucked. We were like, you're in now. Like, I mean, you're part of it. So he's been pretty good about it.
Okay. How long did it take for you guys to discover your sound as a band?
It's a tough one.
I want to say, so we had our first song, which like we removed from like online and all that other stuff, which was called The Fall. And that was, I'd say, like our first song as a band. And like that was like us trying to find our sound. Shortly after, we wrote a whole EP, and there's one song called Always. I'd say that's where we kind of really started to understand our sound, what we wanted to play, and how we wanted to sound. But again, we started back in 2018. So I would say we didn't officially find our sound until probably when we started recording Alaska. So
yeah,
2020 maybe, I'd say we really found our sound.
I'd say like it's still kind of continuously evolving. Like no band really kind of holds on to their signature sound for too long.
Yeah,
you always try something different and either piss someone off or amaze them or impress them, whatever it is. But it is how it is. I'd say, yeah, like around that time, like Up All Night, I think that was kind of our first actual go at it to like not be so serious about things. Like The Fall, like he was saying, was kind of we actually made a video for this song. Is it still on YouTube?
No, I think it's taken down. It could be there.
Okay, good. No, don't look at it. But it was a very kind of like pressured almost song to be like, okay, this is our first song and let's make it all wow and all this. And then it just kind of like fell apart almost, And Up All Night was just kind of like a fun stab at it. Like it was less pressure, just kind of like see what happens. And then from there, just kind of evolved. And the one we just released, the EP there, the album, that sound really kind of blemished when we kind of met Dan and Garrett.
Yeah, I think it really helped polish.
They really kind of helped us find our sound and kind of find our footing for what we wanted to do and, probably where we want to go from there.
Yeah.
So.
How do you describe your current sound?
Quiet right now. We're trying to figure some stuff out for writing. We have 3, 4 kind of on the go right now. A friend of ours just passed away, so there's a song that we're trying to work on as well for that. There's a couple of friends of ours that want us to do some work with them. So there's a lot on the go, and plus with your schedule, it just seems like it's just there's not enough time right now in the day to kind of do everything.
The stuff that we do have, though, I'd say it's a blend of going from the EP that we have to going to a slightly more pop rock direction than it is a pop punk direction, I would say. Well, at least with the odd song.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, you can tell it's already making that evolve, only even though it's been like a couple months in between the writing process.
Yeah.
It's definitely making like that evolution. You can kind of see it as the songs go on, which is kind of cool.
The album that we just did, I was very kind of like radio friendly, I guess I'd say, or very kind of like pop punk with the vocals. I'd like to do kind of heavier stuff, the upcoming stuff, and kind of push it a little bit. So
Push the envelope.
push it and see if my voice can take it, I guess. But I'd like to do heavier. I'd like to do a little bit more edgier stuff, you know.
Okay.
Like Foo Fighters, where they're like all
I
over
was thinking like Lorna
the
Shore.
map.
So can you take us through your songwriting and recording process as a band?
Yeah, there's not much of a process really. Essentially what it is like usually it's like, you know, those 2 in the morning writing sessions or 6 in the morning writing sessions of just like a guitar riff idea or a vocal melody or a lyric, either myself or Bo. And then from there, like what I usually do is I'll just start recording it on Pro Tools at home. And then I'm like, okay, I got that. I'll send it to Bo. Bo's like, yeah, I like it. Then I'll work on it a little bit more further. And then I'll start adding the drums and the guitars and the bass and keys or whatever else dumb ideas that I come up with. And then I'll send it to Bo for him to do his melodies and lyrics and other ideas that he comes up with. Like, oh, do this with the guitar, this with the bass, or anything like that. I say that's probably how it has been lately anyways.
We're constantly sending each other little guitar riffs or little voice memos. I'll be like walking in an elevator, be like, you know, I'll send him a little voice memo. That I'm like, what can we do with that? You know, like we're constantly kind of doing that. But there are times where he's like, here's a song. Here we go. Like, yeah, figure it out. And it's like, okay, it's kind of like a project. What can I do with this? What can I do? And it was kind of like the one that we're just working on called Note to Self. And I had no idea what to do with that. Like, to be honest, I'm like,
that's actually a perfect example because with that one, we didn't have any ideas like for melodies or lyrics or anything like that. It just kind of like, here's the instrumental essentially. So then I sent Bo had a couple of ideas, and then we met up with our producers just over Zoom. And then we just started kind of working on it together. I sent them the stems so they could rip it apart and do whatever they wanted to do. And then we just kind of did just about an hour session, I would say.
But literally we like wrote a song, like just like how we're doing this right now. We wrote that song together. And like they're a big help. Like Dan and Garrett, they don't get enough credit for what they do. They really do magic. So
yeah. I'd say once we
they help
kind of figure it out, then we send it to them. They do their things, and then we fly out and record our parts.
Or drive out.
We've done that a couple times.
Oh God. How long is the drive?
24 hours.
Oh my God, too long. We drove back last time in his van full because he used to live in Vancouver. And he had to move all his stuff back, majority of his stuff back. And I'm talking everything that he owns, like down to like the chocolate bar or whatever, was packed in this van. You could not see in the back. Literally, we just had a mandolin just to hold like this. There was stuff everywhere, bunched up in the front, crazy. And we just made it on like a prayer coming home. Like
that was a sketchy drive back, especially in the mountains in the middle of the night.
Almost hit like a wolf, I think, or whatever. A bear. There was a bear on the road, and I swear, and everyone's going like 120 miles an hour, or kilometers. Like I'm going 80, and people are passing me. Just all these winds and turns and these bears. Yeah. Anyways, okay, so.
No, that's fine. Yeah. So what is maybe a difference you guys see in the music industry between, you know, Canada and the United States, especially within the, you know, punk rock scene?
Yeah, it does, at least in Canada. I don't know too much about how the States work, but at least in Canada, like each city has like their more popular genre. Like in Manitoba, metal's really big here, and then you have rock, and then you have country. I'd say those are like the top 3 in Manitoba, where pop's not really a thing, hip hop's not too much, rap's not too much. Like it's there, don't get me wrong, but it's not like you can walk one street, it's metal. You go to the other street, it's metal, and it's kind of like more bigger things. Where in Toronto or Vancouver, it's more of pop rock. Country is obviously still big, but metal's not really a thing in those 2 places. At least not as big, I should say. They'd probably be more like maybe a top 10 list, not a top 3 or top 5.
Mhm.
Where from my understanding from friends in the States, where it's kind of all the genres are almost equal, it sounds like, at least from like Nashville to LA, like more of the bigger hotspots.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to playing shows, for us, we have Winnipeg, 2-hour drive to Brandon, 4-hour drive to somewhere in Ontario, or 6-hour drive to the next province over in Saskatchewan, where in the States, like play here, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And then you kind of have like a whole circuit you do and have a tour, where in Canada you have
It's
to
like
be
a
gone.
straight line.
Yeah, you have to be gone a week to play 4 shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it depends on if you're doing like, for example, West Coast here in California, it can take you, from LA to San Diego 2 to 3 hours, depending on traffic and stuff like that. But then if you try to drive to another state, it's gonna take you a long time.
Yeah, like
Depending, yeah.
the thing that's kind of like it baffles me every time is the entire population of California, it fits within Canada. All of the population of Canada fits within that one state. So it's like it's so like
It is crazy, yeah.
like sparse or whatever the word is.
Really?
Yeah.
That is
I look
wow.
at that, I'm like, that is cool, but that is
That's
sad.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah. Too many people here.
Yeah, and then here there's just too far spread out.
Yeah.
I've noticed too that like not for punk music, like I haven't seen too much kind of up and coming being a lot of like given a lot of attention, mainstream attention. I find that it's more of the apparel and the more appearance of punk. Like a lot of these rappers, if you want to call them, or I don't know, I guess call rappers. They dress punk, and they kind of have punk-ish feels to their music, but I feel like that's just more of a crave than the music itself. It's just
Like
like
the
the image. It's the look of being into the music rather than actually knowing what that music is. If that makes sense.
Okay. Makes sense, I think. What would you guys define as making it in the music industry from your perspective?
Ooh. Someone just likes just in the music industry perspective, I guess signed, touring, making money.
See, I would put it as like making it or being successful, or however you want to put it, would be essentially being able to pull off your desire constantly and
Okay.
having it where like your desire is just unfolding and you're able to essentially pull it off, where whether that's some people that could be just playing 5 shows a year, it could be just being a bar show or a cover band, to being some people want to be national or signed or playing say Europe, for example, and then they're like, oh, I made it, I played in Europe or I played in Japan or something like that, right? So like I'd say it's just whatever your desire is and being able to pull that off. Like for us, for example, I'd say I don't care if it's signed or unsigned, but like I want at least play Europe, whether it's a festival or whatever, play in Japan, like at least do like a national tour. I would say at that point for us would be making it, or at least the very minimum having a steady enough income where we can focus on full-time gig and then like have side gigs, but the main focus would be waking up and go to band practice, work on tunes, or practice for a tour or something like that. I say something like that anyways in my perspective.
Personally, I always thought if somebody likes your stuff enough to download it or listen to it or even come to your show, buy a shirt, whatever, if actually somebody like likes you enough to devote their time, energy, and effort to put some kind of emotion into it to like back you up, in my opinion, you made it. Like if you made a CD, that's awesome. You made it. Like what else can you want? Do you want the $1 million? You want the tour? Because I mean, yeah, that'd be nice, but that's not how everyone gets, there. And a lot of times that gets old fast,
I've heard a lot of people saying, making it is just being able to leave out of making music, like not necessarily being like famous and rich, but at least not having to have another job.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah,
like,
that'd be nice.
I feel like that's ideal.
Yeah.
Being able to do what you love and not having to worry about other things.
Well, the fact we're even doing this right now, this is pretty cool. Like this, to me, this is something like I wouldn't be doing if, we were just playing cafes or, basements or, we're even playing. We wouldn't be doing this. And so it's pretty cool. The little things, in my opinion, kind of add up and it still kind of makes it where we've made it.
Yeah.
I think continuous progress is what makes it like that little bit of like that ladder
It's the
climb.
small little steps that you make that
Yeah.
make the big impact.
Like everybody wants to play that main stage at that main festival and get that record deal and, buy their mom a house and all that stuff. But you got to get there. And if you get there that quick, then you're going to lose it that quick a lot of times.
Yeah. Do you guys have any like festivals or stage that you would like to play?
Ooh.
Coachella would be cool.
I was gonna say Rock AM.
Yeah, no, honestly, outdoor festivals are probably the best.
See, I would say my answer, if it still existed, Warp Tour.
Okay, yeah.
If it still existed.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
CBGBs would be cool too, but
That'd be cool.
the arena, Winnipeg Arena, because we're from Winnipeg.
Yeah,
And
playing
I've
your
gone
hometown arena, that would be cool.
So many concerts you go there and you watch and you go up there looking at that big stage, you go, wow, one day we'll play there. So I think, like for me, it'd be playing my hometown main arena would be where I'd love to do that.
Yeah, I could agree with you on that actually. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. New York, just because there's so much hype. Everything happens in New York. Every monster movie, there's always, terrorizing New York. So it'd be kind of cool to see there and play a show there and say if you played a show in New York. But yeah.
Okay, so this question is kind of like separated, I guess, because it's as a singer and as a guitar player, what are some styles that you guys feel more comfortable singing, playing, and what are maybe some challenges that you face while singing or playing your instrument, and how often you feel like you encounter those challenges?
Well, singing, a lot of times, I guess when you stay within your register, your comfortability register, kind of where it's just like no problem. For singing, I never did vocal warm-ups for the longest time. I just started doing that within the last year. Wow, do they help? But a lot of times, once you get warmed up, it's not so bad. But it's kind of when you get thrown into it and you're not comfortable, you've worked a full day, you're tired, you haven't eaten, you're, like, okay, we gotta go play a show now. It's kind of hard because almost everything you do trying to sing is going to be hard to do, especially the high notes. I'll say that. Like, it's easy to kind of do the long, held out notes for some reason. That's okay. I don't really have too much struggle with that, but it's when I kind of go from that into like a high note or a lot of, lyrical breaths in between. And then I have to go into something high and hold that and then go, I try to switch it up with vocal melody as much as I can. So it's not so routine and boring throughout the song. That makes sense. Just because that can get overplayed very well, just real quick. So again, I guess it just matters if you're warmed up.
It's the easiest thing to sing though.
I don't know.
Like the lower.
But even that, like, I don't know. I gotta, lower maybe, I guess. Sure. Because high would be very hard. It'd be like dire hard if you're not warmed up. So but I don't really sing low too much at all. No. I don't like it when I sing low. I'm not allowed to sing low. So it's just continuously hard.
I feel like if you're playing or if you're singing in a low, register for too long and it's like next to your, what is it called? Like the lower note that you can sing, if you sing for too long in that area, like it's also very easy to get tired, just like you do on the high notes, if that makes sense. Or I don't know. Yeah. I'm not a guy, so I don't know how that works. The male singing voice works, but at least for the female, that's how it feels. Or at least for me, like
no, absolutely.
Because like whenever I try doing like lower registers, my throat gets like dried out.
And contrary to what people tell you, like hot tea does not help you for vocals. It might help you kind of warm up your vocals, but then you want like lukewarm water. You don't want cold water, you don't want hot water, and it's trial and error a lot of times. For me, honestly, too, I also chew gum. A big thing for me that helps the vocals and kind of the breaths is like a strong mint gum to kind of open up.
Really?
I even tried halls before. I remember I tried all the tricks before, like for shows, and the vocals are cacked out. I can't do, I'm trying to practice, and I go running to a corner store and get like a Red Bull or get like a hot tea, and I would just be screwing up my throat even more. And I'd grab a halls, and by this time I'd be like, can't do nothing.
Yeah.
And you just learn kind of, the hard way. You have a couple of rough shows and okay, what did I do? Let's not do that,
I get it. Yeah.
Do you ever hear about, you probably know this, but if you want to warm up your like higher notes, you're supposed to be singing your lower notes and the other way around?
No, I didn't.
Like, yeah. So okay. I have a professor telling me that if you wanted to get a high register, you would start practicing your lower notes because that would help you somehow expand your higher notes. I don't know
okay.
how I don't know how it really works, but that's what I was told.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So
Everybody's gonna be practicing the lower notes now.
You learned something, right? Like you got to keep an open mind to this too, because not everyone is the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
say, oh, you got to tighten your butt cheeks and use your diaphragm. And sometimes it
Yeah.
doesn't work out, right?
Yeah, it doesn't work out for everyone, but
No,
that's something I
thank you.
heard. Maybe,
Appreciate that.
yeah.
Now we have a trick to try,
We have a trick to try now, Brad.
Since you already tried all the other ones.
right?
Pretty sure I tried them all. I don't know. I don't know if I want to try any others. Sometimes eating too kind of helps. Having just kind of a little bit of like a throat coat, like a peanut butter sandwich or something. Oddly enough, that kind of helps. Yeah.
I can see that actually. Yeah. Like even like myself, like I have to do like a lot of like guitar stuff, but then at times too, I have to do like harmonies or backups or something. So like the hardest thing to do is to play a complicated lead or even a complicated rhythm and then having to help bow out or like do that backups, like when we do surrender.
Whoa, you don't have to help me out.
Well, I have to make it sound bigger. But like when we have this one lead in the chorus where like it's the guitars are constantly moving, so like I have to focus on that melody, but then I have to focus on the vocal melody as well of it going like this. So then I have to like back off a lot of the times and let JC just do it and do all the like the harmonies and stuff, and then I can only come in on certain points. So it's like a lot of times I'll just be sitting at home playing that lead and like whispering to myself. So like my brain just turns off on the guitar or turns off on the vocals and kind of like lets it flow smoothly. I'd say that's probably like honestly probably like one of the hardest things to do, or like probably practice or like kind of keep it going because like there's always something going on, which is kind of a pain, but like it is what it is. But then like the easiest things to do is when like you don't have to do the vocals and it's just like guitar solos or like fancy leads. Like those are like the easier things because I grew up in the whole metal community. So it's like, oh, if I have to do something crazy on the guitar, well, that's easy. That's not a problem. But then it's like when you have to like add vocals on top of that, because I only started singing like recently too. It's probably like my biggest challenge, honestly.
I just counted how many times you said like just in the last 10 seconds, and my hands are done. I have 10 fingers going up.
You're welcome.
That's cool, man. That's funny.
Essentially.
Used to say essentially all the time, so it's like an inside joke saying 100% essentially. So now it's gonna be like.
So what drives you guys to create music?
It's just always been a thing for me. I've always just been musically pushed to do something. Like I fell in love with it as a kid, and I knew right from an early age, like I'm trying this out, see what happens in this, this career path. Maybe it's just always been. I tried putting it away a couple of years ago. I sold my guitars and grew a beard, and like this is before I even met you.
Yeah, I saw this.
Yeah, and I tried to just not do it and try to like get a job and focus on something else, and I lost my passion. I lost like love for life basically, and I just felt like something was missing. And I'll find myself like singing melodies in my head to myself, or like singing stupidly or whatever, but it's just constantly singing to myself. So I might as well try and do something with this.
Yeah, I got it. Like for me, I'd say what really pushed me to do music or constantly write music or be involved with music is when I was growing up, like I'd be constantly surrounded by it. My parents would be listening, like my dad listened to like Rob Zombie or Kiss, my mom would listen to like Johnny Cash and Shania Twain and things like that. So I was always involved with music around, or there's always be a guitar somewhere. So I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then like as I grew up,
I'm just counting. I'm sorry, I'm counting.
Yeah, so as I grew up, music was the only thing that I could escape to. Like, 'cause I was bullied a lot, picked on constantly. So I'd always have music that was kind of like an escape. I could like express my feelings or kind of just like be in there. And so growing up, it was play the guitar. That's how I express my emotions, because I can't do it verbally. So I'll do it through music essentially. And then I found that to be a big help on kind of not like getting angry at things or getting like sad at a lot of things, where it's like if something's going on, I can play the guitar, I can write music, and that'll help me kind of process grief or anger or anything that's going on. And that was it still is a big thing. Like something happens, like when our friend passed away, the only thing I could do was write, play guitar, play piano, and just it helped me process my emotions. And then by recording it and kind of getting it out there, it's still a big drive for me, I'd say. That, and I don't know, you just fall in love with it. So
it's truly like an outlet.
Yeah.
It's a different form. It's more so for me than writing down in a journal or talking about your problems to somebody, or if you're kind of dealing with something that you don't want to talk about, and it's just bottled up, it's just staying inside. Sometimes lyrics, I can't write lyrics. Like, I'll find the vocal melody and then the lyrics will just come out, and sometimes it's just built in stuff that I don't even know why I'm even saying this or why I'm even putting this together, but it fits, and that's where it is, and that's where it stays. Because I mean, really, you can pick apart a song till no end, until you just say, okay, that's the song, leave it be how it is. I mean, I truly think like a lot of people do it for an outlet, but a lot of people also do it for clout now, and a lot of, again, image,
I see that.
like Brad.
So this one is a little bit of a general question, but what are your thoughts on the music industry nowadays? And is there something that you would change in it?
I would change almost like a lot of stuff. I would change the perspective, the main leading agenda behind it, which is, again, not really the music itself anymore, but it's kind of just, style, trends.
You just reminded me of that one TikTok for whatever reason. But when the whole submarine thing happened, there's a song that came out on TikTok. It was like 10, 30-second song. And it came out on TikTok, and it's essentially about like, oh, my dad's in the submarine. I'm at a Blink-182 concert. I'm gonna be rich or something like that. There's just like a gag essentially, but then that's what most, not all, but that's what a good portion of, I'd say, TikTok songs I've come across anyways. So I get what you're saying on that aspect. And then you do have the other side of it where there are people that are really doing it for like expressions or outlets. Or
a lot of times, though, a lot of people that get recognized nowadays, they don't do it because of their music. It's because they said something stupid, did something crazy and controversial, whatever the fact. It's out there. They have purple teeth and yellow bling on their face, whatever, crazy face tattoo, whatever it is, to grab your attention, right? To be like, look at me. Oh, and then here's my music. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of it is nowadays, because so many people are flooded with just trying to push their music on you nowadays. You have to be annoying with it. You have to say, hey, message a bunch of people on your Facebook and say, my band's playing here, listen to my new track. Like, even me as an artist, when people do that to me, I'm like, oh, it's so annoying, right? But like, right away, I'm doing the same to you. And it's you have to do that nowadays because it's so saturated with the same sounds and the same kind of imagery. And again, I think that like Neil Young said it the best back in the day. You could have a shitty album, put out like an album nobody really cares about. Well, that's all right. The next album will do better, right? Because we got your back, we're your record label. Nowadays, it's like you have so many hoops to fucking fly through. And if you don't, well, then this band behind you is going to do it in a heartbeat. Because everybody wants their attention. Everybody wants their 5 seconds of fame. And again, it's like the fame and the attention is more so fought after than the actual rights to be where you are because of the music that you're making. So that's personalized.
I mean, I get it. Yeah. Like, the way I see it is like, it's both easier yet harder at the same time, if that makes sense, to break out in the industry and make it big. Because like, you have the internet, you have Spotify, you got Apple Music, you have TikTok,
you have advantages, but then they become almost disadvantages
because everybody else is doing it. Biggest probably issue I find with the industry that I would change, and I think it's starting to make that change already. Like, people have already seen, like, they've already seen things start to go in that direction and why it's going to change. But yeah, like, it's essentially the streaming platforms and like streaming music. Essentially, like, Spotify only pays artists set amounts, Apple Music pays a little more set amount, where if I have a subscription to Spotify, let's say it's $20 a month, whatever the case may be, if I'm listening to, say, Bullet for My Valentine and Shania Twain, those are the only 2 artists that I ever listen to. Taylor Swift still gets a cut, Johnny Cash still gets a cut, and like their whole thing. And then you have The Weeknd getting their cut, even though you don't listen to them, they're just getting a portion of everybody's subscriptions, and the way the money kind of works, where it should be a little bit more of, if I'm listening to, say, 3 local bands, and then, I don't know, Shania Twain, let's say, then if that's all I'm listening to, that's where my subscription should kind of go to. And there's been like a lot of people talking about similar things in different ways that subscription services and streaming services need to kind of make a bit of a change, and how it's going in a bit of a change already. Like, there's, what's his name? I don't remember his last name. Artie's Take or something like that. He talks a lot about streaming services and trends that he's seen started to take effect and how it's kind of on its way of making that next big revolution in the music industry. And I think that's something that a lot of artists need to get behind and get ready for that change that everyone's pushing for, to have that to happen, so everyone can start making more money for themselves as an artist and not making pennies when it comes to 1,000 streams, 3,000 streams. You're not making 30 cents, you're making dollars or $100, whatever the case may be, right? So I think that's probably the biggest thing with the industry right now.
Okay, yeah. You know, you mentioned a little bit of how people promote their music, and like they do something stupid or they have something and then it's like, oh, by the way, I also make music, go, you know, listen to it. Nice. I've seen something, and I'm gonna apologize if you guys do this, because I'm gonna mention something that bothers me a lot, and is I get a lot of ads, and it's like, oh, well, if you listen to Paramore and if you listen to this and this, you should listen to us because we sound like them. And so I just feel like, well, if you sound like them, then I'm just gonna keep listening to them, because like, what's the point? But I've seen a lot in different genres, pop, punk, rock, whatever it is. I get ads, someone is playing, they mention a bunch of, you know, known bands, come listen to our music because we're like similar to them. And it's just like, that's not how those bands go to the place they are, you know.
You think they're complimented by it or insulted by it, by being referred to by like Linkin Park or, you know?
So I get it from the point of like, oh, we got compared to these, you know, we got compared to Simple Plan, or we got compared to Linkin Park or whatever. But to the point of when they're promoting their music, it's like, our music is just like Linkin Park music, or we sound just like a combination of this and these bands. Like, they put it big, they put the names of those bands big to promote their music, if that makes sense.
I think that's a good way for like up and comers to not like mainstream bands that people are telling that they sound like, you know, because if you sound like, say, Linkin Park, and, you know, everyone's always saying like, oh, you guys are great, you sound like Linkin Park, you sound like Linkin Park, then why don't you just become like a Linkin Park tribute band? You know what I mean? Like, you want to do your music, it's just coincidentally that you guys sound like them, but because Linkin Park got that big, you know, kickoff in the mainstream for that sound, anything that sounds remotely like that is going to always be living in the shadow of Linkin Park. It sucks like that. And radio can kill songs, you know, like if you overplay a song, how many times you're like, nope, not today, you know, and because you've heard that song 40 times today, you know, like.
Part of me wonders though if bands do it. Like, I tried it when we first started. It's just, that's what everyone was doing, right? So obviously if we're starting, you're going to try it. But I quickly found out that, like you were saying, like, we don't want to sound like Blink-182 or Simple Plan. We want to sound like us. We want to sound separate. When it's good to understand, hey, we sound like this, and this band. When you're doing sync licensing, that's very important. Like, you want to say, hey, we sound like Simple Plan, we sound like Nickelback, we sound like Blink-182. So this way, when you're doing your sync licensing in your email, you put 4 bands up and you list all the bands you sound similar to. That's important to know that, and that's important to use it in that context. But when it comes to Instagram ads, Facebook ads, whatever social media platform you're essentially using, like, I get why people do that, because it's like, oh, well, if you're a fan of Fall Out Boy, you'll like us. It's like, I get it, and it might work to a certain degree, but then like you were saying, like, if you sound like Fall Out Boy, why am I going to want to listen to you? I'll just go listen to Fall Out Boys. It's already like them, right? Where, like, I don't know if they put it in the text for SEO purposes or what the case may be, because I don't know too much of how the SEO works on an ad. I know how it's outside of that, but on an ad, I'm not 100%. I'm sure it's probably similar, but they're probably using that for an SEO purposes. And if they are, when you're doing at least meta ads, you can actually target people that are fans of without having to say it in the ad. So then you kind of take advantage of it that way. But I think that's just their way of trying to pull attention, which works for some, doesn't work for other people, right? And that's one of those things where you kind of, if it works for you, fantastic, do it. But I think you need to kind of start learning ads and understanding how non-musicians work, if that makes sense. Like, I always tackle things out of business aspects, but then at the same time, it's good to have Bo and other people in the band where they don't see it in the same perspective I do, so I can understand an outside perspective from the business aspect of it, or having a friend that knows ads, or a friend that knows Like I have a friend that does sync lists, she works at a label and all the other stuff. So she gives me all the insights of do's and the don'ts.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that type of perspective as well, where they're like, yeah, don't do this, don't do that. And like the ad thing, like you're saying, yeah, it's good to have it, but don't put it be like in big bold letters,
Yeah.
Fall Out Boy, Blink-182,
Yeah.
it may be, it's gonna hurt your ad click ratio, I guess could say, more than it is going to benefit. Like I have one that band called Silos that always pops up on my Instagram feed, and they have probably they're pretty up their followers now, but they all got it through constant ads. But nowhere in there when I read the description does it mention any other bands. Which is like more of an experience delivery or trying to draw attention than it is trying to refer to another group or artist or something.
Yeah.
It's got its ups and downs, but I think probably more downs than anything.
Yeah. I think it was easier back when YouTube was the main like stream platform for music to discover other music, because you would get the recommendations on the side, or sometimes YouTube would start just like playing other things. And at least that's how I discovered a lot of the bands I listened to.
Yeah.
But yeah, back then, like I said, they didn't had the need of putting other names. They would just recommend because it's in the same like genre or they're similar. Or
Yeah, and you'd have those tags that you could take advantage of.
Yeah.
So if it's, I don't know, like Metallica or something, you would have tags in there, so it would start linking it, and the more clicks you got, it became, like you're saying, like a recommendation on the side.
Yeah.
So I think people kind of need to start doing that more for social media for sure.
So how do you guys manage your social media? How do you deal with it? You know, TikTok nowadays is a big part of the music industry, which I don't agree with, but how do you guys deal with it, and what are your thoughts on it?
It's definitely not easy, but when I would have ideas for like you said, TikTok, we have skits, we do skits, we come up with dumb ideas and things that hopefully draw attention and pull people in, which
I like to say that's more my department.
Yeah,
I
that's
like to
definitely
try to
what I'm
think of
saying.
like a skit and be like, hey man, what do you think about this? And it's more like I'll just test and be like, will you do that? Sometimes you're like, how about this? So,
but sometimes
yeah, we haven't done that in a while.
no, we haven't, but it helps pull attention because you're not just providing and constantly spamming music, you want
to
an
be
entertainer.
relatable in other aspects nowadays. Like again, like everybody wants to be like a little rock band that makes it, and it's great. But I mean, you got to think of other ways to be relatable or to attract attention.
Not just that, people want to know the personality behind the music, or
Yeah.
behind the camera, or
Exactly. Like who's this guy writing the lyrics, or
Yeah.
who's this guy playing the guitar riffs, or you know what I mean? Like the other day I was thinking like, what else can I do to try to engage my social media? So I'm like, I'll make another account for like my fitness journey of trying to, get in shape and stuff. So it's like little things that you can do to kind of become relatable to somebody, be like, oh yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I'll check this guy out.
take down those barriers.
Yeah, it don't seem more. Because a lot of bands too, and a lot of nobodies, in my opinion, are just somebodies. Like they act like they're just 10 feet tall, and it's like that is the attitude that really gets you out the door before you're even in. And like that kind of attitude was done in like the 80s with like the hair metal and like I'm all that and look at me, like okay, whatever, who cares? Like there's somebody else coming along down the line every week like that. There's nothing special about these guys anymore. It's like the humility and being humble and being like relatable and being like, okay, this guy, that's where his mind was at when he wrote that song. Like this makes me like them even more.
And just seeing like what's like their day-to-day lives essentially.
Yeah, what is he eating? Where's he going to work out and
things like that.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah,
for sure.
It's like even when it comes to our other socials, other than like video content or TikTok or something, it's honestly a matter of like I'll go on Canva, create a bunch of posts, or I just started this new thing called I think Zapier or whatever, where you can go in there and you upload whatever the case may be. Like say you have 10 pieces of content and you schedule it all, so this way you constantly have something kind of rolling. But it's a lot of work of trying to stay on top of the band social accounts and trying to be like, hey, this is what's going on behind the scenes, and trying to build that community and not just have a bunch of fans there for the music, but also trying to bring them into, hey, this is our lives, this is what we do, and like really trying to show them what's behind the curtain, but also at the same time running my own personal social media and trying to keep up with that and everything else. So it's definitely a lot of work and a lot of back and forth where you spend a lot more time on your phone than you'd like to.
Yeah. Social media is a lot of work, a lot of time.
Yeah,
It
it's
requires a
hard
lot
to
of
stay
time.
current on it.
And then now that
Yeah.
they introduced the new app, Threads,
Oh
try
yeah.
and get on that before everybody else, so you can take advantage of, hey, we're one of the only bands in Winnipeg that are currently on Threads. Let's interact with a bunch of people and build a community that way. And then all these new apps coming out, you got to jump on that and try and get ahead of everybody before you're in there with all the masses. So it's definitely a lot.
Yeah. So do you guys feel like the punk scene still has, like, it still has the same meanings as it did when it started back in the 70s, 80s, or
No.
has it changed a lot?
It's changed. Yeah, no, it is not. Back in the 70s and 80s, it was more about like the music had a message. The music had like it was literally the voice of like a nation and like a generation, you know. It wasn't just like, fuck you, I'm not gonna do this, but it had like meaning towards, you know, like the Sex Pistols wrote for a lot of good reasons, and like to bring, you know, awareness to a lot of stuff. And like punk was meant to be, I think, in my opinion, to try to grab your attention, let you know what's going on, and how do you feel about that? You know, like basically all in the same kind of spin. It's like, let's work you up, let's get you going, and let's see how you feel about this issue. And a lot of good punk bands spoke a lot about like political issues, and a lot of, not just like, hey, my girlfriend broke up with me, I'm gonna go skateboard and chew bubblegum. Like that wasn't really brought into, in my opinion, the mainstream punk until like the early or late 90s, early 2000s, when it became like kind of cool to be wearing flood pants and like, you know, DC shirts, and you
that's
know,
when it became pop punk.
Yeah, that's when it became kind of like, you know, pop punk. And the message from punk, like the punk, the sound of punk has always kind of stayed the same, like, you know, like that, the fast tempo and the edgy guitars, and the lyricist or the vocalist that's kind of like almost smearing his, you know, vocals instead of like singing. Actually, it's almost kind of like he's almost lazy, in my opinion, but that kind of gives you like a little edge to the song, you know what I mean? Like it fits. Nowadays I think punk is just more of, again, just an image, just more of chasing what it meant back in the day, trying to hold on to whatever that meant, and try to like cause some kind of controversial from wearing it nowadays. Like, again, you see these rappers wearing like punk stuff, but a lot of times they actually don't have punk incorporated into their music, and it's just for shock and glam, or just to be
I would
kind
say
of up to the current.
Started to change a little bit though. I wouldn't say it's like mainstream like you're saying, but you do have like the niche markets where like you have the odd local band that's doing like the true punk or that punk attitude and like the meaning behind their lyrics. Like one artist that stands out to me that started, I don't follow them too much now to know what their new stuff's like, but Young Blood was kind of like that a lot with punk attitude and the way his lyrics were with some of his earlier stuff. I'm sure he probably still stays the same. Honestly, now it's probably more attitude, but again, that's one artist in 60 other ones that I could name that aren't punk or punk attitude or like Bo saying, that true aspect of it, right? So I get it. Yeah.
Punk's kind of flared off too, and in a lot of different like incorporations. Like I've heard punk country, I've heard like punk, you know, like punk being almost every genre you can think of. There's a little bit of punk in it. In my opinion, if you could double time with that hi-hat and snare and your little, you know, that's from punk back in the 70s. Like rock and roll would be almost basically a love child of punk in a sense. Right. So I don't know, I don't see a lot of punk like people, and a lot of people that are like punk nowadays are kind of like undiscovered and very, you know, very underground is right. A lot of people that are very like, if you don't know this punk band or you don't know the bands I listen to, then you're not true punk, and I stick my nose up at you kind of thing, right? Because back in the day there was just like a one type of punk music, and it was like you're in it and you're out of it, whatever you want to do, right? But nowadays there's so many different avenues of punk that a lot of times these avenues kind of go against each other, and they butt heads and go, well, you're not really punk and you're not really that. And, you know, instead of being like an actual community within that whole genre, you have all these little civil wars almost, you know. It's like, and that's just punk, never mind the metal scene and never mind, you know, the rock scene. But when you stand back and look at it, it's all just freaking music, you know. There's no right or wrong. I used to think Rancid was kind of like, wow, you know, that's not really the great, but now I listen to them like, these guys are awesome. you know, and you just come to terms that you do a little full circle, and what you hated you like now, and what you like you probably hate tomorrow, and shit like that.
Yeah. So what elements from, or what elements define the punk influence in your sound?
We definitely don't take the old school punk influence. I'd say we definitely take a lot more of that old school pop punk for sure, like the Good Charlottes, the Blink-182s. It's more of, I'd say, like some of the riffs, or like some of the way they do some of their chords, or I don't know what chords they'd be called. I just call them dissonant chords because the way like you play it like really stretched out or like really weird. I'd say like a lot of the influences like that, along with like I definitely incorporate a lot of influences from the metal scene and things from there as well. But from punk, I would say at least guitar wise or instrumental wise, it's some of the weird notes that they do, or some of that 4-chord kind of structure. There's one song we have. Which one is it? I'd say probably either Means to an End or My Serenity kind of takes that classic Blink-182 sound from like 2000 and 2004 era. Just the way the kind of guitar riffs go, anyways.
Both kind of cool.
Yeah, both do in a way. But lyric wise, I don't think so at all. I could be wrong. That's your department.
Growing up, I listened to a lot of Blink. That's probably like the most punk I got in a sense, but like in pop punk aspects. But I loved At the Drive-In. Finch was this other kind of like emo scream pop punk. I don't know if you want to call them pop punk, but they had some elements, right? They had a couple singles, and I really loved Nate's voice growing up, and I think that's kind of where I kind of base my punk attributes from, in a sense, is from Finch. I'd like to think so, especially with the upcoming stuff we're about to write, because Nate, like his vocals were really awesome. Like he could do like, you know, the scream and then the soft very well. So hopefully I can take that as well and mirror it for the next. But yeah, I have to say that basically.
Okay. We have 2 more questions. The first one is, you guys are working on new music, something else. What can you guys tell us about it?
It sucks. It's a different sound. It's a little more heavier, I think.
We have 2 avenues, I would say. We have a little more of the heavier, well, definitely more in the rock aspect. And then we have the one that we have the odd song too, that's more in the pop aspect. And we kind of dropped, I'd say, maybe not fully, because with some of the riffs that Devin has and some of the riffs that I have, we still have the pop punk elements to it. But I'd say it's definitely pushing more in that rock with some of the heavier ones, especially with the vocals that we're wanting to do it. And then definitely a lot more pop in another direction. Like there's a couple that's got a little more synths and piano than it does guitars. Honestly, there's one that's just essentially it's beats. There's no guitars, there's no nothing. What aspect that's going to go, I don't know if that's going to go a heavier aspect or a lighter aspect. I'm not sure.
I think it's going to be a cool process the next year or so, because I think we're going to be trying stuff that we wouldn't have tried last year for a sound and for a song. I'd like that way, to be honest. I would like not a secondary album that we just, what was it, bring back movie song title quotes.
Yeah.
Wow, it's hard to say. That's like a tongue twister. Well, you know, like not another sounding album like that. I'd like to
piggyback. You mean
exactly? I'd like to create something different but still have a sound, obviously the same kind of signature Sleepless sound. But yeah,
okay.
I think we're definitely gonna do a little more experimental. Because I was telling Bo, the end goal vision for Sleepless would be to kind of do what Foo Fighters does, where it's, hey, we want to make a dance album. We're gonna make a dance album. You want to make a metal album? We'll make a metal album, kind of thing, right? Where they're playing all these different genres, but it's all Foo Fighters. It all sounds like Foo Fighters. It all fits with them, right? Like you can tell they have that signature sound, regardless of what genre Dave Grohl does. And essentially, the end goal for Sleepless would be kind of the same thing, where I do want to make a metal song. I've got stuff in the works. It's just a matter of, does it fit? Can we blend it? We have pop songs, we have rock songs, we have pop punk. So it's a matter of just kind of keeping that signature Sleepless sound, but in the different genres that we kind of want to play around with and get used to. And then I don't think our lyrical content or subjects will probably change too much regardless.
Okay.
I don't think anyways.
Okay, that makes sense. So our last questions to finish off is, what is the soundtrack of your life?
Shit.
It's a good one.
Honestly, I can't say like an album, but a song. For me personally, I'll find a song I really like, and I will listen to that song for like 3 or 5 days straight on repeat. I'll go for a run for like 45 minutes and just keep pressing rewind on that song.
If you were to pick something that'd be like the soundtrack of your life, essentially, let's say I'm gonna narrow it down to one song. What's one song that you listened to as a kid, as a teenager, as an adult that carried over? Because maybe that would technically
The
maybe
soundtrack, or
Yeah.
sometimes we've had people, mention an album, or sometimes there's people like, oh, when I was a kid, this was the song, and then when I was in my teenage years, my soundtrack was this, and then now is this.
Man, that's a good question. That's a tough one.
I was obsessed with the band Bush growing up, like Bush X, Swallowed, and like Machine Head and Come Down and all that stuff. Like I love those guys. So I'd say any album from Bush would have been like my soundtrack of my life. Nowadays, I'd have to say Deftones, White Pony. That album, that is the soundtrack of my life right now, as we stand.
See, that's funny you mentioned that because like ours are like two completely different aspects.
Yeah.
Like, as a kid, I'd probably put like Papa Roach, their album. I don't remember the name of the album, but the song with Scars and Lost Word and all that stuff. I'd say that's probably like that would have been the soundtrack then, and then like now, it probably hasn't changed too much. Where it would be Neck Deep would be probably one of them. With it's that album that's got all the different things going on at the same time. I can't remember the name of the album, however. I had to go with something like that, but definitely like the Sad Boy acoustic.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Thing that would be my thing. Like Real Friends, things like that. That'd be the soundtrack of my life. Is like that Sad Boy Hour stuff.
Okay, actually, can I change? Can I change my answer? So
Yeah.
you just reminded me. So there's this place on YouTube. It's called Sad Songs for Depressed People. Don't let the title fool you. It's great music. I swear to God, it's great shit. And it's just this type of stuff you like play, and you're just like, oh yeah, man. Sometimes you want to give it a cry. That's fine. That's okay. It's natural. But like, it's just like chill music. I would say that would be the soundtrack.
Is it
for my life
lo-fi?
right now. It's like lo-fi stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's super cool. I know it sounds bad, but it means well.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Well, that's the end of our interview podcast, whatever you guys want to call it.
Well,
thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Before you go, you want to share socials? Anything else you want to say before?
Yes, socials. We're literally everywhere you can think of, which is at Sleepless WPG, and then on our Apple Music and Spotify and all the streaming services is just sleep/less. But actually, yeah, sleep. We just had to kind of keep it separate like that. But yeah, so at socials, Sleepless WPG, you can find us there, harass us there. Today we're dropping a Discord. So we'll drop that on our socials as well, so people can kind of join that, and we'll do giveaways and community things, games. People play PlayStation with people, I guess, like little things like that. So
okay, awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
for having us.
Yeah, of course. Have a great weekend, I guess.
Yeah.
Rest of Saturday. I don't know.
You as well.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, that was Sleepless. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us. It's been a pleasure. We're so excited to see what you guys are creating. And for our listeners, go check them out and make sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at STO Lives Podcast. Thanks for joining us.